What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ninth Realm, an Age of Sigmar podcast brought to you by FrontlineGaming.org, where you can get your tabletop gaming goodies at a discount every day. And of course, we manufacture the very cool FLG mats, which we just debuted a brand new mat. Not one, not two,
not
six.
Not thrice.
Not thrice. Thrice was a good punk band from the 90s. I know my boy Jason's on board with that one.
That's true.
But that was in the age of like the really cool garage punk bands that they were like poppy punk, but they were more approachable than like the Vandals and the Sex Pistols and stuff. But like they were fun, like Atreyu and Thrice, and there was some good ones back then. Yeah, when we were in high school.
Yeah,
that's probably why we liked it, is because we were in high school.
Yeah. We're going way off the rails here.
You know what? I think Age of Sigmar and 90s punk have a lot in common. Yeah. Also, if you hear the sounds of baseball in the background, well, by Jove, this is America, and they play baseball inside of business park businesses.
Yeah, that's the 10th realm. That's the baseball realm.
The baseball realm, which is
just an uncanny ability to know when we're going to start this random recording that we do. It's really amazing.
They must have a spy camera, and they're like, go, 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 go. So at any rate, besides 90s punk rock and our annoying next door neighbor playing baseball inside of their business for some reason, we do talk about also games like Age of Sigmar, but we did release a new mat in 6 different versions. It's Bocage. It'd be great for World War II, obviously, games, but you could also use it for historicals, Napoleonics. You could use it for 40K. Age of Sigmar would be awesome for Age of Sigmar, actually. It'd be great for that. And it represents the Bocage country of Normandy, specifically where some of the most famous battles of World War II after D-Day were fought. And it's available in a 28 millimeter scale and a 15 millimeter scale, in 4x6, 4x4, and 3x3 foot sizes. And what I mean by 28 millimeter scale is that's Age of Sigmar is pushing it. Bolt Action is a 28 millimeter scale, and things like Flames of War would be a 15 millimeter scale. So really cool. Make sure to check those out at store.frontlinegaming.org if it sounds cool to you. And like I said, it would be great for Age of Sigmar too. The 28 millimeter scale version would actually be very appropriate for Age of Sigmar. It'd be a lot of fun too. It'd look great. So at any rate, talking about a little bit of Age of Sigmar, the big news today, or the big news for the last couple months really, has been General's Handbook 2017. It's going to be released in August. So that means it's got to go up for pre-order really soon here. If it's going to be released this month, I would imagine in the next week or two. And GW put up an article talking about order in the General's Handbook 2017. Some of the things you can expect. So it's pretty cool. The big one that they focus on is the allies ability. They've already showed off the allies chart. And in a 2,000 point game, what it means is you could take up to 20% of your army as allies and retain your allegiance ability. Now, good and bad, right? Like that's cool because they've shown us that there's going to be a lot of allegiance abilities like they talk about in depth in here. Seraphon, they talk about Wanderers, which used to be the Wood Elves. They talk about the Dispossessed, which are a faction of Dwarven that used to be dwarves in fantasy. And they're like, yeah, you can keep your allegiance abilities, but you can take allies as well. And then they talk about like, oh, you can take a Celestial Hurricanum and keep your allegiance abilities if that's one of your allies. Or the Collegiate Arcane. The thing is, 400 points is not a lot of points. Right? Like Frankie's Dwarden army, he has 3 cannons, and if cannons stay the same price, which I can't imagine they'd go down, he wouldn't be able to take the cannons and be Dwarden. Like the same goes for my Free People. I was like, oh, cool, allies. I'm going to get Free People's allegiance abilities. And then I looked at my list. I have a Celestial Hurricanum and I have a bunch of artillery. If it, as I'm explaining it, is correct, I wouldn't actually be able to get the Free People's stuff. I'd be able to take the Celestial Hurricanum and that's it. Or I'd be able to take, assuming the points don't change, like 2 Hellstorm rocket batteries and that's it. So the allegiance ability would have to be pretty damn good to be better than like 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries and a Celestial Hurricane. Right. Like, so I mean, what would I take? More handgunners? They're really good. I could take more swordsmen. I could take maybe the general on the Griffin. I've got some options.
I think it's probably geared more towards like people who play Sylvaneth or like Stormcast Eternals who want to bring.
They already have all their allegiance abilities.
Right, but like if you wanted to bring like a Celestial Hurricanum with your Sylvaneth list and still retain your Sylvaneth allegiance abilities, which I know like in the past, like I built Sylvaneth lists. I'm like, man, this Celestial Hurricanum would really make these Crown Hunters hit much better because Crown Hunters are great. Problem is you're hitting on 4s, right? So 50% of the time you're missing. But I'm like, man, if I had this Celestial Hurricanum, it would be so much better. But then I would lose my allegiance abilities because I'm taking the Celestial Hurricanum. But now I can with these allegiance abilities and still be within that point limit. So I think that's what you're going to see a lot. I feel.
You make a good point.
Yeah.
You make a good.
Or a steam tank. You bring a steam tank.
And that's one of the examples they use. But the thing is, if I do that, if I take a steam tank, I don't have room to take anything else.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, from your perspective, from someone who's playing the new factions, that totally makes sense. Like, you could take Sylvaneth armies will get even better. Like, they're already most competitive Sylvaneth armies already have the Celestial Hurricanum. But now they'll get the Celestial Hurricanum and their allegiance abilities.
Correct.
So they're going to get better. Stormcast Eternal, same thing. Right. Most people that play Stormcast Eternals have.
I think that's what this is meant for. Like,
I don't know, but in the article, they're emphasizing the older armies. That's all they're talking about. They're talking about
older armies are now going to start moving more into support roles. To be honest, like the individual.
I don't think that's not what I got. In the article, they specifically talk about armies of free people. Right. Army and they say
they talk about too. Yeah.
Yeah, Seraphon at length, and they talk about a good segue. They talk about one of the special abilities that Seraphon get, where you can basically deep strike a unit. Take it off the table and redeploy it, which is really good because Seraphon's main problem is they're slow.
Yeah.
And that helps. Obviously, you can take a unit off, put it somewhere back on the table within more than 9 inches away from the enemy.
Right.
Pretty cool, right? And then another one, Duwarden can do it too. They have a magical pickaxe where a hero and a unit, you take them off in your hero phase.
Yep.
And the next hero phase, you put them back on the table more than 9 inches away from the enemy. They're slow.
Yeah.
And then they talk about one of their allegiance abilities for the Duwarden is you ignore battle shock on a 1, 2, or 3. And they're like, yeah, you can take massive units. And I'm like, well, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it's a 50-50 chance, which is really good. But if you take, and they use the example of a big unit of Iron Breakers.
Right.
I'm like, but if you do roll that 4, 5, or 6, your big unit's getting shit on. So it's like, I don't know if I would still take that risk. And I don't know if that's worth losing out on like 3 or 4 cannons. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or whatever, the Celestial Hurricane, whatever the heck the case may be. So it's like, is that really worth like a 50-50 shot to ignore morale or get devastated by morale? I don't know if that's really worth it, in my opinion. So that's the question I'm asking myself, is like, if I only have 400 points to play with, I'm taking like half my army as allies. But then I guess from another perspective, then you're not a free people's army. I guess you could make that argument.
Right.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to try it out.
Right.
We'll see. I just don't know if that is worthwhile. However, and the frustrating thing from a person who's playing what used to be Empire is that all of these things used to be in my army anyway, and now they're not.
Right.
Like the Collegiate Arcane, the Ironweld Arsenal, the Steam Tank. Those all used to be things that were just a part of my army.
Yeah. And now they're their own.
You know what I mean? And now they're their own. So I'm like, same with the Duwarden, right? Same with the Dispossessed. Like, those are all things that they used to already get. So, it's interesting. In the article, they also talk about one of the cool things you can do with the Seraphon is deep strike the Troglodyte. And if you kill somebody with a spit, he gets plus 3 inches to his charge. Now he only has to roll a 6 to make his charge, and that is pretty damn cool. So they talk about some of the cool stuff Wanderers get. Now, Wanderers, what they really needed was a points adjustment. So hopefully we'll see that.
Right. They
desperately needed a points adjustment. Their stuff is way overpriced. But they get some really cool stuff like Melt Away. Wanderers are impossibly difficult to lock in combat. Melting away to strike afar from their missile weapons. A friendly Wanderers unit that retreats can shoot in the shooting phase. That's obviously very good.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be army-wide for Wanderers?
They say that is their allegiance ability, right? And they talk about using it with Sisters of the Watch.
That's really good.
So you can just keep backing up and blasting people. Yeah. So that is really cool. That helps to mitigate how expensive they are.
Gives them a bit of a unique trait too, right? So it's making them a bit of a more of a unique army, which is nice to see too. Like giving an old army kind of a new flair.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's probably not going to see new Wanderer units. Probably not going to happen. So let's give them
anytime soon.
Let's give them some new, like a new way to play the game. Yeah. Right. At least.
So it is interesting. Like, this is going to be it's an interesting choice. Are the allegiance abilities worth it to you? And then obviously for like ITC rankings and stuff like this, this is going to define how you get your faction, you'll get a little bit of wiggle room with those alliance points.
Right.
But I mean, that for me, that's what I'm focused on because it impacts my army.
Right.
For somebody else who's like was already playing a pure faction, like Scott playing his Iron Jaws, he's like, awesome, now I can take some shooting units and I'm still Iron Jaws. So I guess it just depends on where you're standing, how this is going to impact you.
I think it's going to be better for the new armies.
Yeah.
Being able to add what you're missing. So like a Stormcast Eternal army is going to be able to add in some magical abilities now, right? You can add in like my boy, fucking Balthazar Gelt. Is he even still a guy? Can you add him?
Is he a legacy unit or not?
He is a legacy unit.
I can't remember, but he's awesome. You can still use it.
But you could put on, or what's his name? You could put on the wizard on the Griffin or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like Stormcast Eternals don't have wizards. I mean, they have the guys who are priests, but like that's something that's missing from that army. So if they don't have a lot of anti-magic abilities. So like if you wanted to add that now, I could within that alliance point capability that or the points that I'm allocating for that, and I keep my Stormcast Eternal keyword, which lets me deep strike everything.
Yeah, and you make a good point. I guess it just depends on where you're standing. Because like looking at what I've seen so far, like my army is not going to change a lot because, and I'll try it out. Of course, I want to try out all Free People's Army and see if how good it is. And show off the allegiance abilities. I guarantee I'll definitely do that. I have a zillion models in my army, so I definitely can do it. And you know what? Maybe then I'll try something totally different. Maybe I'll throw in the general on a Griffin, or maybe two. You know, like that guy's good. But it's painful to lose the artillery, which is what does the damage. Except for in my last game against Scott, when I did one damage with like. I think it was 34 artillery shots. I did 1 damage total. It was the worst rolling I've ever had. I got creamed, by the way. That was
artillery tends to be pretty expensive, right? Points wise.
180 points, pretty much.
For a cannon.
For one.
For one cannon. Okay.
So like with 400 points, I could take 2.
Yeah.
I'm like.
But at the same time, like because like I've been talking for a while about doing a whole army. For the Phoenix Temple, right? The old High Elf Phoenix Guard, right? Because it's an army essentially.
It's beautiful.
Essentially an army of 4 Invul saves, right?
Yeah.
Which is really good. There's a lot of little tricks you can do with them. The problem is it's all close combat.
You only have 3 units. Right. And the Phoenixes are freaking amazing.
Right. So with my alliance points, I could add in 2 cannons to give me some range.
Or you could add in just like some elf spearmen or something. You know what I mean? Like something like the battle line. And that's the other cool thing is you don't lose your special battle line.
Right.
Like some factions only get battle line, like the Death Rattle. They get the Morghast as their battle line if you're all death or if you're all Death Lords. Right. But now you could mix in some zombies or something and get some bulk into your army and retain all your benefits, which is really cool. So I'm very excited for this to come out.
Or even better, what would be really cool, like a whole 7th army of like mostly like Kurnoth Hunters.
Yeah.
And then you just add like a big bulk unit of like the Phoenix Guard.
That would be an interesting army. Or you could add, I mean, I guess you have Dryads are supposed to be your bulk unit, but yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would still have to have your battle line, but still, like something like that would be pretty cool, you know?
I agree. So there's a lot. It's going to shake up the game. It sounds positive. The one thing that I'm really interested to see pan out is the rule of 1, because we didn't see the no stacking the like buff, which is interesting in my opinion. Definitely not what I was hoping to see. We'll have to see, but like things like the Morgul, Morgul, stacking is just not fun. Period. It's just not fun. No. I mean, you have to always hit on a 6 rule, but that's also not super fun. So, we'll have to wait and see what we get. But we also saw a couple of the Fire Slayers.
The battle traits they're getting.
Battle traits, which is really cool. So they get Urgold runes. So you pick one, and then at the start of your hero phase, you can activate one of the following runes. State which rune will be activated on a D6. On a 1 through 5, it's the lesser version. On a 6, it's the greater version. And then the power of each Urgold rune can only be awakened once in each battle, and no more than one can be activated at the same time. Once you have used a rune, you can choose a new one in your next hero phase, but you cannot use the same one again. So you get 3 buffs. You're going to be using them in the first 3 phases of the game. There's offensive buffs, mostly increasing your damage, all of them increasing your damage or your rend. Pretty cool. And then, of course, the Fire Slayers went down. They've already told us they've gone down in points.
They got their own start collecting box. Yeah. So you're gonna see a lot more Fire Slayers out on the tables now.
I hope so.
I hope so.
They're brilliant models and they're a lot of fun. And I really am curious. I mean, obviously, like I've already seen it, but you know, we have to wait until we talk about it.
Right.
And there's still things I'm waiting to see too, to be quite frank.
Right.
But I'm really interested to see some of the allegiance abilities that they talked about, like Flesh Eater Courts. Obviously, very interested in the Free Peoples.
Right.
I have a Flesh Eater Courts baby army, the Skaven Clan Pestilence.
Right.
Like I have the models that have been sitting there for a while. I have not had time to put them together, and I'm really curious to see all of those.
Right.
Because ultimately, what I think all of us want to see is more diversity. We want to see more armies on the table. We don't want to just see the new ones. So.
Right. And I hope. I mean, so we're not going to see new, different. Like war scrolls and stuff are not going to be in this handbook, right? Because like my concern is I was just about to do, you know, the Spire of Dawn release, you know, with the high elves in it. They have the Sea Guard stuff. None of that is in the order book. So what's going to happen with that? Are those considered legacy units?
We have to wait and see.
Okay.
We can't.
It's a bummer because there's amazing models and amazing units.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait on that one.
Right.
And then one of the other abilities that they talk about in the article is Defiant Avengers, which is the battle trait for Order, which lets you reroll Order checks.
It's if your army doesn't have one.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So you get some really cool additional abilities in there, and we're really excited to see how this all pans out. And to be able to talk more in depth and show it off in video battle reports and all that fun stuff. But tonight, we do have a Age of Sigmar game. It's going to be Duarden. It's going to be Frankie's Dispossessed Dwarf Army, which is really nasty, versus an equally nasty Death Army piloted by Brandon. But first, let's talk about the top rankings in the ITC for Age of Sigmar. Currently, first place in the top 10 is Sam Valdez. Second place is Zach Lopez. Third is Vlad Nika, Michael Birch in fourth. Fifth is Jarrett Zazueta. Sixth is Joshua Harvey. Matthew Pashby in seventh. Tyler Hamill in eighth. Alex Gonzalez in ninth. And Jeremy Vessier in 10th. Top teams, we've got Betty's Fighting Havanicans in first. WSD in second. Your Mom's Garage in third. Beast Claw Raiders, we currently have Frank Deloach is in first place. Bone Splitters, we have Grant Patsube in first. Chaos, Zach Lopez. Death, we have Alex Gonzalez. Sorry for the background noise, guys. It's our neighbors are being pretty obnoxious right now.
Yep.
Sam Valdez, Destruction, first place. Disciples of Zinch, we have Michael Birch in first. Flesh Eater Courts, we have Lance Shee. Fire Slayers, we have Brad Jimenez. Iron Jaws, we have Arturo Gonzalez. Blades of Corn, we have Kevin Gaffuri. And Order, we have James Hill. Seraphon, Jarrett Zazueta. Skaven Clan Pestilence, we have John Furhelm, still sitting in first place.
Long, baby.
Stormcast Eternals, we have Jeremy Vessier, has jumped into first place, also an excellent 40K player. And Vlad Nika, still in first place for Sylvaneth. Well done, guys.
Yep.
And we're going to wrap it up for today. A little bit short on the show, but basically we're all just kind of waiting with bated breath for the General's Handbook 2017 to drop. Can't wait. Jason, before we close it out, what are you most looking forward to in the General's Handbook 2017?
The alliance abilities.
Yeah.
Just because I've wanted to do, like I said, Sylvaneth lists with things like the Celestial Hurricanum or taking cannons, things like that, where I felt like there were weaknesses in the list, or like just the newer battle tomes where I felt that there were weaknesses, and I was like, man, I really wish I could take these, but then I would lose my alliance abilities, which are really good. So I'm really excited to see that. It's going to make me build better lists.
I think so. As a Free Peoples player, I'm really curious to see if the allegiance abilities are worth it, or if my list is pretty much going to stay as it was. And as a player of any other army, I'm really interested to see how I can mix up what I got with the allegiance abilities and allies, and see how that pans out. So very excited. I'm also, I can't wait to see the points adjustments too, because that's going to be very telling of what to expect.
Right.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Ninth Realm. We hope you enjoyed it. Please take a look at the new FLG mat, the Bocage. It's a beautiful mat. We're very proud of it. And of course, grab your tickets for the Las Vegas Open, the SoCal Open. They are going quickly, and we will talk to you again next week.
See you guys.